Are we there? We're live. What's going on, D-Bags? Hope you guys are doing well. We're back here again with another episode of the dtalks podcast. I'm your host, as always, Darren, Rita. Feel free to connect with me at any of the links down below. And if you're new here and you enjoy music, podcasts, comedy, hooping videos, fun vlogs, any of that stuff, do consider subscribing because we've got a whole lot of that going on around here. And when you subscribe, leave a comment, leave a like on episodes like this. It helps us share conversations and fun videos like this with more people. So do consider doing that. Now, before I can get in to kicking it with my guests and kind of reintroducing you guys to somebody who's been on the show a couple of times, fantastic character, America's greatest mind reader. I got to talk to you guys a little bit about car insurance. These days, it seems as if we're able to do more and more from home. So while you're at home, while you're saving money on your car insurance, your hometown agency, Kenosha Auto Insurance, is specialized for years, dude, literal years in simple, hassle-free car insurance using the latest in touch-free technology to help you and your family get the best rates. So what are you waiting for? Give them a call today at 262-448-4141. That's 262-448-4141. The website's kenoshains.com. It's on the screen right now. One last time, that's 262-448-4141. It's also linked down below. Give them a call. Tell them Rita dtalks sent you. The worst that can happen is you will get the best rates. Now, with all that good stuff out of the way, I mentioned earlier, he's America's greatest mind reader. Let's welcome back my friend, Joe Diamond.
Thank you.
How are you, Joe?
Thank you for that warm round of applause.
Yes,
I appreciate
just
it.
just me out here.
It's all good. It's all good.
We actually have a soundboard now, but it is inactive as I have to bring the computer into the shop. So I apologize. It's just
That's
me.
Okay. I don't I don't have so fragile of an ego where it's like, no, bring in the fake applause right now.
America's greatest deserves more, Joe. I've failed you.
It's fine.
But you're here, Joe. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for making it out.
I appreciate you asking me again. It's always a blast to be here.
Dude, it's been quite a while. It's been like half a year since you've been on the show. I think.
It was October. You were dressed as Jesus. I was dressed as the devil. So for Halloween.
Yeah.
So,
we had that going, and me and I think Pat came and saw you not too long ago over at the Dole, and now you've got a new show.
Yes.
Out in Lake Geneva.
Big show.
Let us know what's going on.
So we'll dive right in with that. My newest project is the show America's Greatest Mind Reader. It's going to be at the Tristan Christ Magic Theater in Lake Geneva, 100 North Edwards Boulevard in Lake Geneva. You can go to lakegeneva.com for tickets or americasgreatestmindreader.com for tickets. I'm at Joe Diamond Live on all
We've got it linked down in the description.
You got the links,
well.
Yeah, exactly. And this is it's definitely my biggest solo ticketed event.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my shows, I've played a lot of intimate venues. We talked earlier, I've done school events that were a couple thousand people, but when it's come to selling tickets specifically for me, or I've been part of larger shows as well, when I've done shows at the Rouse Center for the Arts in Crystal Lake or other things like that. I'm usually part of a larger cast for something like that, of a variety of different variety acts. So this is my first big show. Their theater seats 175 seats, and it's as massive as it is. It's still a very intimate space. Their back row is still closer than most front rows in Las Vegas. It's a really great venue, and I've been their guest performer a number of times in the middle of their main
it's built
illusion
for magic
show
too. This place was built for magic.
Yes,
this
it's
is
only ever been a theater for magic. And so that's pretty amazing as well. And I'm doing my full hour-long solo show. Can I plug the promo code right off the bat?
Do it.
So for your listeners,
I've got it down in the description.
Got it down in the description. It's JD15, JD15. Tickets are normally $35, but if you want to come, type in that promo code in the promo code box when you buy your tickets, and you'll get $15 off each ticket. So tickets will only be $20 a piece for you and your listeners.
Well, let's go, guys, because I'm trying to go. You guys want to go? Let's
There's two dates, April 29th and May 6th, and I'm pushing people to go for those because the more of you who come to those two, the more likely more of them will happen in the future. People have been asking if there's going to be other ones, and it's it depends on how these two go. So
that's how it works. Right?
So if you can't make it, that's fine. Feel free to share the code with people who you think may be able to pick it up. Now, even though it's a bigger show, it's still a very intimate show because of, again, the space, but also in this show, by design, there are over 60 audience members who are going to be directly involved in the show.
In your show.
In the show,
Jeez,
yes.
Wow.
And everyone in the audience, in the middle of the show, we do a massive mind reading test with everyone in the audience at once. So everyone will be participating. That said, if you don't want to be up in front of people and you just want to watch, that's fine too. I make a big deal of saying like, hey, would you come up? And if people are hesitant, I say, okay, let's get someone else. So that's fine too. I know how to be tactful in those situations. That said, it's part of the fun of this is you never know what people are going to think or say or do. So yes, I have a structure. Yes, we've got all that locked in, but at the same time, I've had people in shows think of anything from their PIN code to their most embarrassing secret. And, it's kind of open-ended for audience members in that regard too.
You got to play on that.
Yeah.
It's not
exactly. It's
completely script. You're not like down to what people are going to say. You don't know ahead of time.
No,
you don't know who's going to show up.
I don't. Yeah, exactly. And the other it'll be you. It'll be you right now. But and that's fun. So it has that element of like an improv show. Mm-hmm. I feel weird calling it a one-man show because it's not just me. I mean, the other co-stars of the show are the people in the audience. Yeah. But the show progresses in a variety of ways, but one of the ways that I can talk about it progressing without giving too much away is I use more and more people as the show goes on. So the first thing I do just uses 2 people out of the audience. The next thing uses 3. The next thing uses 4.
Oh, man.
The next thing uses, that's usually when we get to the point where we, involve everyone in the audience from their seats. And then the next thing directly involves 5. And then another 5 for the next one, about 6. And then the finale directly involves 26 people.
Jesus.
All from their seats. I'll tease. I will talk a little bit about what that is later on. Yeah. But the big feature of the show is I am going to be playing Russian roulette with staple guns.
With staple guns?
There will be 4 staple guns. Only one will be unloaded, and an audience member is going to decide which one is fired into my palm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
you're not going to want to miss that. It's actually it's actually a very heartfelt tribute to my grandfather, believe it or not.
Oh wow.
So the story of it is I have his pocket knife that I inherited once he passed away. And that was his good luck charm. Mm-hmm. And he only got injured on the job once. Now he was a true jack of all trades. He built his 4-story house on 7 acres in Bull Valley, Illinois. Wow. He made a man-made pond on that property and put fish in it. And we went fishing it, and he mowed everything. He trimmed all the branches on trails. He planted trees. If the roof leaked, he fixed it. I need my wife's help to change a light bulb. So it wasn't genetic, but he only got injured on the job once. He was re-roofing his house, and his hand slipped and the staple gun slipped, and he took a staple to the palm of his hand. And he did what any man would do. Pulled the staple out, cleaned the wound, wrapped it in a bandage, cracked open a beer, and got back to work.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was the one day he did not have his lucky pocket knife with him. He left it on his nightstand, and he always said, he's like, if he didn't have it, he'd say, wait, I'm naked. And he'd go in and get his pocket knife and come out. And so I inherited that. And so I am doing this as a tribute to him, the person who's choosing. I'll have people on stage to get the stable guns. The audience member in the audience who's making the choices will be holding his pocket knife as they make all the choices.
Good luck that way.
And worst case scenario, I'm using very short staples, and we'll have a first aid kit on hand. So worst case scenario, I'll take a staple to the hand, and we'll clean the wound and take a quick break. You can go and get a drink at that point, and I'll get back to work. So worst case scenario, I'll end up just like my family.
Yeah.
Which is the scariest part of all of this, if so
that's fair.
So so that'll be the big thing for that, and I'm excited to do that.
Have you taken a staple before to the hand? I've taken a staple to the hand before on accident.
Not during the show yet, but yes.
This lock on this fake laminate wood.
Yeah. Oh no! Where's wood? I need real wood.
It's somewhat wood. It's wood-like, right?
Wood-like. Yeah, so yes, I have. It wasn't
Okay.
it wasn't in the hand. It was in a finger when I was a kid.
What's your pain tolerance on that? Are you a screamer? Do you yell something like that? Are you?
So here I'll actually admit something. These big, Home Depot staple guns, like 2 prongs still come out of it even when it's empty. So it's not going to injure you, but when you take an unloaded staple gun to the hand, it still feels like you got ever get just like a massive high five from someone?
Yeah, and you're like, why?
or someone like just, and you go, ooh, it feels like that. It feels like if you just took like a belt just whoosh, across the hand. So it does feel like you get slapped. So it's actually weird. So the way everyone has a piece of paper and they hold it up to my hand and staple it. So the only way I know, because you
still feel the hit.
You still
right?
feel the hit. So I don't know until the paper falls off my hand or not. If that's the case. That said, I do have a number of safety precautions in effect. There is an act in the sideshow where people staple money to the performer for real. The higher the bill, the more choices you get of where to staple it to the person. So there is an act where you staple money to a guy's pectorals and other body parts, again, depending on the denomination of the bill.
That's an interesting way to work for tips right there.
Yeah, exactly. And as you said, you've taken one, so you know, like it's gonna make it's not gonna be a fun day.
No.
But it's 2 pinpricks, and clean it, and I use brand new staples, so I won't get tetanus.
I was very
anything.
young, and it was by accident. I thought I was making a paper airplane, and I thought that if I had put some weight and forget where, that it would be.
Got it. That
it
wouldn't. Yeah.
Stapled my middle finger.
Got it.
I cried.
Yeah.
I was like 10.
You're allowed.
Yeah,
You're allowed. It's okay.
I was very sad.
So, but those were the small like paper staples, not like the industrial.
No, this was I recently had to overcome my fear of staple guns like 2 years ago to use one. But
there you go. Well, come to the show and we'll renew that.
We'll
fear.
reinstate it. Yeah.
The other thing I'm really excited about in this show, so something I've done for years, is I've been doing spoonbending, which is something I first saw Uri Geller do on TV as a kid, and lots of people have done it. I'm really proud of the spoon bending sequence I do. There's a lot of mystery performers that do spoon bending. I've got some things in my act that no one else does. For example, I not only bend a spoon in someone's hand, but it actually corkscrews in an audience member's hand. So the head of the spoon is twisted all the way around and comes out. And as far as I know, I'm the only person to be able to do that in a spectator's hand. And I do that in a lot of situations, and I've done it in big stages, and I'll walk around the audience, allowing people to see it up close. And what I'm really excited for in the show is they've got live video feeds and LED screens on either side.
Yeah.
So that what's normally the smallest part of my show is going to be the biggest, most visual eye candy part of the show. And that I'm really excited for, because that, like, I tomorrow's rehearsals, and like the thing I'm most excited for is to see like these moments, be on a big screen that everyone can see, just as close up. I mean, and there's CGI in movies like The Matrix where like a spoon bends and everything. And I'm doing a lot of those things they use CGI for real, with real spoons that they're not memory metal. They're from Target,
I'm gonna need to call you.
And
I'm trying to make a short film, bro. I got the CG. I don't need CG.
Yeah, exactly. I used to years ago. There's a moment where the spoon I'm holding, there's a video of me doing this on YouTube on like the local news and stuff, if anyone wants to look it up. And I used to say, in the movie The Matrix, they spent $1.5 million to invent new technology to make a spoon bend over. And they should have called me, because I can do it with no camera tricks.
Wow.
And then so through a cool twist of fate, I ended up, when I used to host a radio show, paranormal talk show back in the day, I got to talk to Uri Geller on my show.
Really?
From Israel. And he had looked me up. He had watched my video of me bending spoons on Chicago TV, and he's like, "Joe, you bend spoons better than I do." And I was like, can I quote you on that? He's like, absolutely. Just spell my name right. And so I was like,
Damn.
so yeah, so that's a huge, like to have like your childhood hero,
It's a big cosign.
you know? Yeah, exactly. That's a big deal. So like, so I'm very proud of that. And I'm real excited to be able to do that again, in a context like this, that's going to be able to be seen by everyone all at once.
What do people say the first time when you're like, hey, I got this spoon here? Like when you're trying, because, you know, when you're like workshopping this, you know, you try to make sure you got the skill.
Well, what usually, so it's funny because when I first started,
who's the guinea pig here?
No, I've been doing it for a long time. I did get in trouble bending my mom's good spoons when I was a kid. Oh, shit. Yeah, so I did get in some trouble for that. When I did street performing at Six Flags Great America, my audition was bending silverware for their entertainment director. And that's what got me the gig at Six Flags when I was 17. So I've been doing it a long time.
Okay.
And then I also worked at a restaurant through high school and college. And the one restaurant,
be good for tips.
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. But also the restaurant, you know, when people got bent silverware they could keep as gifts, they would talk about that place forever. So they said, go ahead, bend all the silverware you want. You know, we won't even charge you for it. We'll just keep ordering spoons because they had to, because they got really cheap silverware anyway. So I got to do it a lot when I was younger, and it did get one of those things I got really burned out on for a few years, and I took a break from it. But when I was doing my show in Chicago with a friend of mine, the Magic Cabaret, that theater sat about 60 seats. I was really thinking about putting it in the show. The problem with doing it on a stage is at a restaurant table, you can borrow, if you borrow someone's ring and borrow a spoon, and one of the things I would do is, you know, link the ring onto the spoon, apparently through the bowl end. And you don't have to have a story for that. It's just a cool, impossible thing that everyone goes, wow. And when you then bend the spoon, again, it's a cool, impossible thing that everyone goes, wow for. You can't just go out on stage, do it, and then leave. You got to give it some context.
Yeah.
And I really, my co-star at the time, we were talking about it. He's like, well, how'd you get started with this? I was like, well, I had something happen during breakfast, and then that's what made me research, like, is this a thing other people can do, and does it actually happen? And that's when I read about Uri Geller, and he's like, well, make it about that. And I had written this big long script of like setting up the framework and everything, and I did it one night, and it didn't add anything. So what I ended up doing, there was one thing that I added to it, and that was I normally, when I've seen other mentalists have like displays of silverware, even like almost like something they could like hook them or clip them onto and everything. But I realized I'd never seen someone using the spoon and the bowl together, because my whole presentation was going to be about, having breakfast and all this stuff. So I had the bowl, and one of the things, so finally it just came down to, I'm going to tell you about my first paranormal experience. I was sitting down ready for breakfast. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to tell you about it. I'm just going to show you. Okay. And then I would just go into it. And that was like the end. And that's the other thing too. Mind reading is very much, talking. So to have a break where I could stop and do something purely visual. And I have people examine the spoons and they sign them to make sure they're not switched out or anything. And then there's one aspect where a spoon breaks, part of like the head or the handle breaks off, and normally it just falls to the floor. But when I have a spectator on stage holding the bowl and it falls into the bowl, even in big stages, I've been able to do that because people can hear it fall in.
Yeah.
So that's why I've been able to play it on much bigger stages, even without, video projection. And it was one of those things where just, once I made that breakthrough artistically with it and kind of had new, kind of a perspective on it. Mm-hmm. And I didn't do this consciously, but like a couple of years later, I rewatched Poltergeist, and there's that scene where they're at the breakfast table and the kid takes his spoon out and it's just all wavy and bent. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I didn't, and it's not explained. It's almost exact. It's like, oh my gosh, yes, that's the idea. Don't over explain it. Don't overdo it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, so I'm on the same level as Steven Spielberg and Tobe Hooper. I think that's what
You've
that
got
means.
It. Yeah,
I don't know.
It does.
I don't know.
It does. Well, so it's interesting. You bringing up you having to kind of adapt either your act or certain specific parts of your act, right? In depending on the space that you're going to be in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so with this new space that you're going to be in for this, so you got rehearsals coming up and stuff. What is like something that's other than maybe is it the projection, I guess, would be the most exciting part of like this new space for you, that it's like, and it's sort of a sweet spot where you said, it's a big audience, but it's still intimate.
It's still very intimate.
I've been in there.
Yes.
It's a nice space. You don't feel, I mean, I was like halfway towards the back, and it felt like I was,
you're right there.
Yeah.
You're right there. Yeah. It feels that way on stage too, because like you're eye level with like the top. I got used to saying the top row, not the last row, because that sounds better to people, of course.
It does.
Oh, you're in the top row. But also at the same time, like, and I feel a little guilty saying this, because I tell people like, oh, you got the best seats in the house, or oh, I'm going to make sure you get good seats and everything. Because there's not a bad seat in that house. There really isn't.
Oh, yeah.
You can sit anywhere and experience the show just as well on the opposite. You could be, down on the far end of the first row or the opposite end of the back row and get just as good of a view of everything and see everything. Yeah, I think the projection is an exciting thing. The other exciting aspect is, like, normally I have to work my show so that I can play anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have to be able to play a banquet hall in Austin, Texas, to, an event space in Chicago, to, a VFW, it's gotta, and that's part of the reason why I focus on mind reading so much, is because, I can work out of my pockets and I can do it anywhere. Yeah, exactly. And I've figured out how to make things play without needing big props too.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it. But the other aspect is also, I've got a pre-recorded intro. Normally I'm just giving someone like a laminated card and the MC introduces me. A good friend of mine happens to be, I don't think I'm talking out of school saying this. My good friend is the voice of the Minnesota Twins. He's an amateur magician, and he's also narrated audiobooks for a murder mystery series that I love, which the authors consulted me on and even named a character in one of the books Joey D after me, which is pretty cool.
That's pretty sweet.
And he's the voice of the Twins.
Yeah. Jim. His name is Jim Cunningham. I've also seen him on a couple ads. I don't know what they were, but I was seeing my wife at work, and I looked up on the TV, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Jim, because he does like some commercials and stuff up there.
He's doing a lot.
Yeah, and so
Magician,
exactly.
Twins, nice.
And so so I asked, and he actually did the introduction for our show in Chicago. So when this happened, I was like, hey, would you be willing to do one? And he said, yeah, absolutely. And
That's super cool.
he recorded it, and we put it to some epic music. I'll play it for you off the air. It's
Okay.
really awesome, and like I just can't wait for that to play and the curtains to open, because that's the other thing. I'm just again, like, nothing against. I've worked some beautiful stages and some beautiful venues, but 9 times out of 10 when they're giving the introduction, I'm just kind of standing off to the side, smiling and acting as if like I'm hearing this introduction for the first time from this person. Like, oh, this is so nice that they wrote this for me, even though I gave it to them.
Yeah.
So you got to like strike that balance. And so I'm looking forward to that as well. I think, and
That's
then
gotta
just
be pretty cool, like getting psyched up. I mean, it's a different experience than from like, I know I've seen you in more intimate settings.
Yeah.
And like
that's
more like your
at the Dole. I'm and I actually really like this too. I like the lack of theatricality in a place like the Dole Mansion. Like, those are 13-person seats, or 13-person shows. There's 13 seats. I'm greeting everyone at the door. The building rules. I have to greet everyone at the door, walk them up to my studio. And I've even thought about like, getting like a hostess to like greet people and stuff. And I've done that for my Halloween shows when those were 50 people, and that was on the ground floor of the Dole. I did get hosts for that. But then they came in and sat down, and then I would introduce myself then.
Yeah.
But
I think doing both is probably pretty interesting, because you get that way adds almost a level of, I mean, it's like I'm getting to meet you, like you said beforehand, right? So I'm like, oh, this is a guy, and this guy in 20 minutes is going to be doing that. And then I think it makes it even more incredible what you're doing. But then I think also in this way, what you're doing it with this stage and stuff, it's got to be pretty exciting for you.
Yeah,
to get to
and I've actually been debating on whether or not I'm going to be like hanging out with people before the show or not. Because I don't want in a bigger show like that, I don't want people thinking, oh, is he setting something up with that person? You know, I don't want them to think that. Whereas when it's 50 people and you see me just say hi to one person and then say hi to you. And again, in this show, normally, like, again, as I mentioned earlier, the show directly involves, 50 to 60 people. So in a show that's 50 to 60 people, I'm involving everyone. So no one really has to worry like, oh, was that person in on it? Because they know they weren't.
There's no way everybody in here is part of this
except
show.
Me. People have said that. But also, so in a venue like Tristan's, I know that's going to be enough to where I'm going to get to just about everyone in every group. If you have a group if you're not just a couple, if you're in like a group of like 4-ish or more, the math works out to where like, every
group's going to have somebody.
interact. And this is a good time to talk about what the grand finale is. The grand finale is I read my own mind.
That sounds counterintuitive and not that impressive, Joe.
I know. It's actually the hardest thing in the show, and I'll explain.
Okay.
How many times have you tried to remember a piece of information that you know you should know, but you can't remember it?
I forgot my phone number today, Joe.
Yeah, you have to. Right?
I really did.
You delved into the depths of your unconscious to figure out your phone number. Yeah. And that's what the last thing is. It's a test of memory. Okay. I start the show with having someone shuffle a deck of cards, and I use that for the first test. And then at the end, I have the deck shuffled by multiple people, and I attempt to memorize the deck in under 30 seconds.
Why? How?
Yes. So I actually explain how I do it as I do it as well. So I'll kind of describe it. So what I do first off is after it's shuffled and it's brought up, I have someone time me. I go through the deck, and I need complete silence for it, which is kind of fun, like to do like at like a corporate event. And I can't wait to do it in a theater where it's like, no, cut the music, like cut the background music. No one even cough for the next 20 seconds, please.
It's like that. Was that 21 Jump Street? Like, I need absolute silence. Absolute silence.
Yeah, pretty much.
The fuck up. I need absolute silence.
Exactly. And I only go through half the deck, and I explain. I only need to go through half because if I know what's in one half, by process of elimination, I know what's in the other half.
Damn, bro, you gotta.
And then here's how we involve so many people. I hand that half to someone, and I say, keep a card, and pass the deck to someone else. If the deck comes to you and you have not participated yet, keep a card and keep passing it along. If you have participated, let's give more people a chance. Pass it on. So while they're doing that, I explain how I memorize this half, and I'll explain it now. This is an old mnemonics test or technique, I guess. In the deck of cards, there are 4 suits. If you've seen the TV show Sherlock, he's got a mind palace. I have a house of cards, which means it can collapse up here at any moment.
Yeah.
There's 4 floors. There's a spade floor, a heart floor, a club floor, and a diamond floor. Each floor is 13 objects.
Okay.
So that makes up for every single card. Okay. So as I'm going through the deck, if I see a card that relates to that object, I break that object. I destroy it. So then all I have to do is go through my mind and remember what's intact and what's broken. For example, the first object is, we were talking about Marvel earlier.
Yeah.
It's the Ace of Spades, and that's a big shield, almost like an old school crest over the front door. That's my first object. So if I'm going through the deck and I see the Ace of Spades, I destroy it. If I think and go, no, that's still intact when I go through that first floor, I know I haven't seen it, which means it must be out there. And I say, if I name so I do that, and I prove I've memorized this half I'm holding. I won't say how I do that because I don't want to spoil everything. But then I toss them. I say, but I've been holding these. I looked at these. I haven't looked at those cards. If you have a card, stand up. And so there's 26 cards. So 26 people stand up. And I love this line. I get to say, take a look around the room. This is what it looks like in my brain right now, which is fun. Doesn't really, but it's a cool moment where it's like, oh man, he has to keep track of all this. And I say, if I name your card, I want a nice clear yes. Throw your card in the air and sit down. We'll start with the spades. So if you have a spade, look alive. And I go through them all and everything. And my friend who came up with this staging, there have been lots of memory demonstrations throughout mentalism and show business for years. This is his staging of it, and he said it's like psychic whack-a-mole because like just people keep sitting down in the audience. And it's really fun to see, and it makes it, even though I'm alone on stage, it still plays massive because, you know, it's been spread out all throughout the audience. And the thing I like about that too is if someone doesn't want to participate, they can just pass it along. You know, it's low, easy opt out. But also, like, people know, like, I don't have 26 actors. I would make no money. People kind of instinctually get that, at the very least. And there's a bit of a twist at the end, which I won't give away here. But but that's as much as I'm willing to spoil for right now. There's still some surprises in the show. I'm not giving away.
That's crazy.
But it's a fun way to kind of bring everything full circle at the end too. There's another thing that brings everything full circle. I'm a really big fan of both suspense and surprise, and finding ways to include both and combine both too.
Well, you do a great job from what I've seen you do, like a great job at subverting expectations and payoff. Like you like, you should write a show, like a good, I feel like you could write a good film. A good TV show. Because you're good at that. Like, you'll have this little thing, and by the end of the show, that little comment you made at whatever point pays off. And those are the shows that, like, you know, we were talking before about Marvel, we're geeks, whatever. The Easter eggs that pay off in the end, those are the most fun, and that makes me the most excited.
Well, thank you, but also I do, like, I think of my shows as kind of like Twilight Zone episodes in a sense, especially the studio show that you saw, Mystic, where it's 13 people are coming to a historic haunted mansion to hang out with a mind reader talking about various mystics from throughout history. If that's not a setup for a Twilight Zone episode, I don't know what is. But it's like, it's a little bit like an escape room because you're part of the story, you're part of the narrative. And I am kind of thinking, like, in those terms, like, okay, this is an episode of the Twilight Zone. People are going to be locked in a room with a mind reader for an hour. What's going to happen? You know, what's in this room? I've got the phrenology head over there. Maybe I don't need to use that. Oh, but the Ouija board's there. Maybe want to pay that off. I should maybe talk about, you know, the things on the wall and all of that. And I do feel that way. This show is much more about the audience. I don't have as much of a lot of my shows do have like a theme and a through line, and this one, it's much more subtle. The theme and through line is just, you know, the audience, it's the people, it's the connection, it's you know, memory, you know, there is something that happens in the show, which I'm trying not to spoil, where it is that same kind of thing where during the memory thing, I mentioned something from earlier in the show and you go, oh yeah. And then finally you thought it wasn't going to go anywhere, but it then pays off. And again, I don't want to give that away too much because I think that does become, that officially becomes a spoiler. Someone I know did I can't remember what college they did it with, but they actually did a scientific study about people's perception of performance magic, where they had played videos of people doing, you know, award-winning, you know, magic acts and everything else, and they had people rate them and figured out all this stuff. And the big things I took away from it, it's for free online. It's by Joshua J. It's called What Audiences Really Think. You can find it online very easily. And it's a great article and kind of gives a great little peek into not how magic works, but why magic works.
Yeah.
And the big things I took away from that was people rated the audience rated the show or the experience or the video higher when there was a better introduction. If they just showed someone a clip of someone doing an amazing card effect, for example, they'd say, yeah, that was good. But when they would preface it by saying, oh, this guy's a world champion, he won this award and did all this other stuff, people rated it more entertaining and more amazing when they were told that.
Building suspension. Right?
Building
excited.
Suspense. And also the other big thing that they asked people what they loved most about watching magic, and people, like, number one across the board was surprise. People liked being surprised. And that is part of the that is one of the struggles that mind reading has with magic, which is one of the differences with it is when you say you're a mind reader, I've spoiled it. You're gonna think of something. I'm gonna tell you what it is.
Yeah.
That said, hopefully the surprise comes from it actually works. Just because you say you're gonna, just because Babe Ruth pointed at the outfield, no one went, he ruined it.
Yeah.
What? He ruined it. No, we know what's gonna happen now.
Yeah.
That builds suspense, and then part of the surprise is, wow, that actually happened. There's definitely that aspect of it as well, but also it's something I do try to work in to my show and again, there's moments in the Spoonbending that's, surprising that comes out of nowhere. There's other elements. The other thing too, sometimes I'll get something from someone that comes out of nowhere. Like I've been reading someone's mind and they're just, I've got a fun energy about them. I'm like, and I'll say like, oh, quit acting like a Taurus. And it turns out they are a Taurus, and there have been moments like that even surprise me. So there is still, a fair amount of surprise in the show, but it's a lot harder to subvert those expectations while also not.
When you're doing something that you're telling them ahead of time, like,
yes.
hey, this is what it is.
Well, a good example that you saw, and I don't mind spoiling this because there's tons of photos of it. In my show Mystic, I close at a Ouija board. I'm sitting at a Ouija board in the middle of the room. People have their hands on my shoulders and I'm blindfolded, and I'm going to try to have the board spell out what dead celebrity they're thinking of. And I have them think of that dead celebrity super early in the show.
Yeah.
To the point where at the end, like you said, I say, but wait, you and I have unfinished business.
Yeah.
And everyone goes, oh yeah, she's thinking of someone. And that board's been in the corner off to the side the whole time. And also throughout the show, I've used a crystal ball. I've used tarot cards. I've eased you into it. If I started off with that board,
some people are going to be,
some people would be upset, but also like there's no journey then, there's no journey. You've got to go down the rabbit hole. You got to follow.
What are we going to do for another 45
Yeah,
hour,
yeah, exactly. There's a line I use sometimes after the first piece of my show. I say, well, that's it.
Yeah.
That's all I do. Don't worry. I'll keep doing it for the next 55 minutes, but I mean, that's the same thing with the comedians. Like after their first joke, it's like, well, I'm just going to keep doing that over and over for, 59 more minutes. And I'm talking about all these different mystics from throughout history.
We just got a comment. I don't want to cut you off.
Oh, that's
we just
fine.
got a comment from a friend of mine. He says, what did I eat for dinner?
Pussy. Sorry.
Knowing him, man, maybe he did. Shout out. His name's Joe as well.
Fair enough. That's the other thing. I've got to be on top of it with. By the way, I'm glad that finally happened in a context, because I've always wanted to say that, but you can't always say that at like
fair.
the company corporate dinner.
You can say it here.
I can say it here. It's fine. Cool. Yeah. So, well, and to be fair too, like, so there's a lot of, I'm very careful with challenges. Like there are some performers who make it about the challenge. Like, I know something you don't. You can try to outsmart me as much as you want. I'm still gonna, be 5 steps ahead of you. And that's not really what my show is about. It's about connection and everything else. Mm-hmm. That said, good theater has challenge and conflict in it. So, there are moments where I like to
play into that
a bit, for sure. That said, I find, again, it happens all the time when you tell people you're a mind reader. What am I thinking right now?
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to get a good response. And the response I use most of the time now is I just look at them very seriously and I say, you're thinking of how you're going to deny the next thing I say to you. And it's great because they just go, nope.
Yeah.
Without really thinking
about what you
because I realized, people aren't really thinking of anything. They're just waiting to say no.
Yeah, when they
most
do that.
of the time.
Yeah.
With little kids, it's different. With little kids, I say cookies. Because with a little kid, they're not thinking of anything yet. So if you can put the thought in their head before they've fully formed the thought, they kind of just go, yeah. It's like saying, don't think of a pink elephant. It kind of, but when you get older, people are just ready to say no.
Yeah.
So actually, so I went to the Tristan Chris Theater to see my friend Dan Sperry. He's been on America's Got Talent. He's like a punk rock Alice Cooper gothic magician.
Okay.
He swallows razor blades and makes dental floss go through his neck and everything. Watch him on America's Got Talent. He's incredible. And he and some people there recognized me and they're like, oh, we have to come see your show here in a few weeks. And I'm leaving, and they were a little tipsy. They were nice though. But as we're leaving, the one woman was like, hey, wait before you go. And I'm like, no, don't. And she's like, can you do something? I'm like, you just saw an hour from a Las Vegas and Broadway headliner. He's had his own show in Vegas. He toured with the Illusionists around the world and on Broadway. Like you just saw an hour show by one of the best, and you're asking me to do something now in the parking? Like, no, buy a ticket to my show. So I was like, no, come see the show. And her one friend was like, no, come on, tell me what I'm thinking. I need to see it before I believe it. It's like, you didn't need to see the birds appearing out of nowhere before you bought a ticket. You know, you came to this. So I said she was like, tell me what I'm thinking. And I did that line. And I said, oh, you're denied the next thing I said to you. Thanks, everyone. See you at the show. And everyone laughed. And I just ran to my friend's car and got in there and got out of it as quickly as possible.
He said that he had a brisket.
Close
brisket
enough.
was the answer. So, I mean, pretty adjacent.
Okay, yeah, meat,
adjacent.
You know,
it was
we'll
there.
leave it at that.
Appreciate you, Joe. Well, Joe, you got to come with me to come see Joe perform.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. Be fun. So, getting back to like with you and writing the show and worrying about, getting everything in order for the show so you can put on this great performance. It must feel pretty good in those moments when you get to see the reaction of people being like,
oh yeah.
when they actually have that surprise. Because I'm sure like writing is one thing. You got to there's a little leap of faith there.
Yeah.
That it's like, I hope that they're surprised by this.
Yes. And there's sometimes you have something in your head that doesn't quite work. My wife, Lindsay, actually helps a lot with those kinds of moments. Like, for example, there in the Mystic show, there's something we do with a throwing card from an old magician named Thurston, where I boomerang it into the deck or into the air and catch it in the deck. And originally it was supposed to split the card like an arrow, like the old, arrow splitting, Robin Hood, William Tell stories. And it just didn't, it was a pain, but also like when I did it for my wife, she's like, why was the card torn? I was like, oh, because it's split. She's like, oh, I didn't get that. And I was like, well, I'm not going to work really hard for something most people aren't going to get.
Yeah.
So she helped me with even down to, I say to people, if I did this correctly, the card should be directly above or beneath that throwing card. And I spread the deck out and I learned to make it the second card I turn over. I turn over the card above it first and it's not it. And I just go, bummer. And I set that off to the side, move the other card out of the way. And then the final line is bullseye. And that is, I don't think I'm giving too much away here. That is by design. There are moments in my shows, especially these stage shows, where that happens on its own. I leave it open for those kinds of moments to happen.
You have to be able to adjust on the fly.
I have to adjust on the fly. There are ways. I reveal things that I have like a kind of like improvers. There are arrows in a quiver. They'll have, yes, they don't know the scene, but they've got a character that they use every once in a while. I remember doing improv with this one kid when we were kids, when we were like 15, and he had he came up with this character. There was a game we were playing called Experts, and he had to be the expert in tiny things, and he just had like, I like tiny things because they're little. And he busted that character out every once in a while. And it was always great whenever like in the middle of another sketch, he'd be like, I like tiny things.
Yeah.
Or he would just do that voice and we would just be like, oh, it's the tiny things guy. Yes.
God damn, yeah.
There was a great one where like he got cornered by, someone in a scene, like he had apparently trashed a hotel room and like, you did this. And there's this long pause and he was just like, I'm gonna sue you. And it like just, so he had that character like ready to go in those types of situations. And I have things like that set up for certain situations. Like if I have someone super shy on stage, I'll do a more animated reveal on my end because I know they're not gonna freak out and run away. And there are times where it's like, oh, if I just dial the tension up a little bit more, it's going to make this person scream, when this happens, or jump. So yes, there is a lot of that built in, and that's only because I've been able to work on, structuring the show that well. But there is a lot of, and then on top of it, you need to write the press releases that communicates all this without giving away the show. It makes people want to come see the show as well.
Where'd you do improv at, by the way?
Nowhere major. There was a group, it doesn't exist anymore, called Christian Youth Theater. Okay. And I was 15. They did it out of a lot of churches, that kind of stuff. And it was like a
improv is probably pretty helpful for what you do though today, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely. I will. There's a lot of people who say you should write scripts, you should do this, you should do that, and like I need to write on stage. I very rarely do I sit down, write the script, and then that's what I say on stage. Very often, things will become stories that I just tell, and eventually that becomes part of the show.
You more kind of learn as you go. Like you kind of have to be in the field doing
Well,
it.
also so much of what I'm doing is giving instructions too. So I have to think of what's the clearest way to give these instructions. But also if that person's just not understanding it, I need to be clear to adapt with that person so that they understand, oh, okay, he means do this.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, if they don't get it, then they can't be a good participant. Then that makes makes sense.
Well, and it's all communication too. So if we're not communicating on the basic, audible level, it's not going to happen on the unconscious level.
That makes sense. Yeah. And you mentioned, doing with the press releases, having to write those and everything like that. You do a lot. You do a lot. You're going all over the country. You're mind reading for everybody, doing big corporate events, all this stuff. How do you go about, marketing yourself as an artist then? Because you've got to, you have to do a lot of this yourself. Yeah. I know your wife helps out as well, right?
Yeah, she helps. She'll help me, like, she'll read over something and, tell me if there's a typo in it before I click send, that kind of stuff.
I forget to send it to her sometimes.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about this last time. So I did a lecture for a magic company called Penguin Magic, which is like the Amazon of magic. And my lecture was on publicity. I talked about, getting in local newspapers, writing a press release. I have included a PDF of an old press release of mine where you could just insert your name and use that to send out to people and such. So I've thought a lot about this, and I think step one, and I think a lot of people, and it sounds obvious, and it also sounds a little egotistical to some people, I think. But like the best publicity is a good product. True. Whether it's a good song, a good mind reading show, a good, stand-up act, whatever it is, like, work at your craft, work on your act more than your marketing materials. And my mentor was very much the same way. And I've just always felt that if the show is good, like the work will be there. Yeah. And sometimes, work begets work, it's always a hard, it's
an exponential kind of thing.
Yeah. There's in street performing, they say nothing draws a crowd like a crowd. It's like, well, you got to get that initial crowd to get the bigger crowd. There's a lot of that kind of stuff. So that's, and again, I've definitely been doing, publicity stunts and everything. My first one was solving the Richardson corn maze blindfolded, 12 years ago now. And,
Still awesome.
Thank you. But it was, and I've always thought in terms of a lot of my heroes were people like the amazing Kreskin and Joseph Dunninger, these old school mentalists and mind readers. And they always did, drove cars blindfolded and, hypnotized politicians and did all this stuff getting publicity.
Do you enjoy that part of it? Because I know a lot of people that creative, and what you do is,
it's another form of creativity. Sure.
Yeah, a lot of creatives really despise the having to go get
the
people.
promotion stuff part.
But at least in what you're saying, it's pretty creative in what you're doing for publicity stuff.
And again, maybe before I answer this, let me just reiterate or say something I haven't talked about a lot.
Mm-hmm.
In 2011, the year after I saw the Richardson Court Maze Blindfolded, I got kicked out of my apartment because I had fallen behind on payments. I was that fucking broke.
Yeah.
And I don't say that lightly, and I don't say it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there was it was awful. It was soul crushing. You know, it felt like, oh my God, like I failed. I went out to be a, you know, professional entertainer full time, and it did not work.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, I didn't have, you know, parents who were going to pay it all off. You know, I did end up paying it all back, everything I owed and everything. And, you know, and fixed my credit and all that other stuff. It took a while, but, you know, I got back there. How old were you at the time? 23, okay. 23, 24. So yeah, so it's like, you know, it was, but there was a moment where I realized no one's coming to save you. Or no one's coming to save me. Like, that's what I told myself. Like, oh, no one's going to care more about my career than me. No one's going to work harder at pushing this press release than me. There's not going to be a magical, you know, promoter or manager that's going to show up and do it all for me, and, you know, I'll never have to write another press release again. Like, it's not happening. You know, I mean, that sometimes happens for some people. People also win the lottery. It doesn't mean, you know, I think it was Bo Burnham who said, like, someone like me saying follow your dreams is like telling someone who won the lottery saying, oh, just buy Powerball tickets. It clearly works. Yeah. You know, we got very lucky. And I realized that, oh, yeah, I can't just sit around waiting for that luck to happen. I hear this happens a lot in magic. I've seen so many people who are just like, oh, I just need a budget, or I just need a director, or I just need, you know, a run in Vegas. I just need this, and then, you know, I'll be able to do it all. And I've always felt that if you can't make money without money, you won't make money with money. Yeah. I won't say names about this, but I know a story of a magician who was given, I believe it was $500,000 when he graduated high school. Damn. From his very wealthy parents.
18-year-old, $500K.
Yeah, and he was told, do whatever you want with it. Invest it, go to college, do whatever. He bought a bunch of untested magic illusions, rented out a theater in Vegas, you know, had a promo video made with a helicopter, and was beginning to lose money very quickly because no one wanted to book a show with an inexperienced performer doing untested tricks. And he had one act that he would do at different nightclubs in Vegas, and he got offered by a magic company to put that on DVD and sell it to magicians, and they paid him a couple grand for that, and that was a good payday. That DVD went on to sell over 100,000 copies worldwide. But again, he had already been paid, so he didn't get any of that.
No royalties.
And someone else bought that act and went to his gig and said, hey, I'll work for tips. And he lost his gig to that person. So just because you're given that money doesn't mean you're going to be a success either, you know? Yeah. And let me be clear. I was told this story by someone who knew this person, so I may get some of these facts wrong. Let's just say it was a parable based on real life events, just in case. So just to be clear on all that. All that said, like, I got good at writing press releases very early on. I got good at, you know, just coming up with good story. Like, it's storytelling. Marketing is storytelling in a sense, and that's the other big thing too that I'm trying to help encourage in other creatives, which is, you know, I always say, oh, I'm a bad marketer. It's like, no, you're not. If you're a storyteller, you're used to taking stories and putting them in other people's heads. If you write stories, you're good at doing that. If you're singing, you're everything, whether you choose a certain beat or the word or you know, a selection of 2 words or 1 words in a book, all of that is to sell an idea. It's to sell a story or sell a character. if you're a creative, you're already good at selling.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're instantly great at it. Doesn't mean it's not going to be hard. And I get it, because it's not the fun thing to work hard at. It's the very boring part. There's nothing fun changing the bio on your website for the 80th time. There's nothing fun about. It's fun to sit down and with the props and try stuff and think, oh, what would happen if this happened? That part's the fun part. And it takes a long time. But if you really look at, entrepreneurs, performers who have done this, they've gotten really good at, communicating their ideas, talking about, that's basically, and proof of this, in my opinion, is the change in everything and shifting towards crowdfunding. If you've got a creative Kickstarter pitch or any of that stuff, the more creative and better that is, the more successful that is. So I see promotion, I see marketing as just another extension of the creativity tree. Almost. Yeah, it's another part of it. I've a couple books I'll recommend. Jeffrey Gitomer's Little Red Book of Selling. There's another great book. I can't remember the author's name, but it's called Buzz Marketing. It's great. Okay. Talks about some really good creative promotional ideas. And also the book Thinker Toys by Michael McCulco. I actually had him on my radio show, and Thinker Toys is basically a system towards creativity. Now, creativity has become the new buzzword with businesses, with public speakers and businesses. It's the new word for synergy. In the 90s, it was all synergy. Now it's creativity. So it's definitely been corporatized. However, Thinker Toys is great because it's so practical. It kind of takes the idea that you need to be blessed with some sort of talent or gift in order to be creative, in order for those things to happen. It's okay. My power's getting away from me. So it kind of just makes it, part of a practical, and it also it gives you more control on the days when you're not feeling inspired. It gives you the excuse to just work, to just sit down and going, go to work. It gives you, you don't have to wake up and feel like, oh, I don't feel creative today. You can just wake up and do the, you can do the work. You've got that in front of you. And he's got some really great systems and principles that have worked across the board. So and it's good for working at creativity, but also, again, being creative in new areas. And that's the other thing too. I don't know of a single successful creative person who's only good at one thing, who only excels at one thing. Yeah. Teller from Penn and Teller directs Shakespeare plays. He's done incredible stuff in that regard. I'm just trying to think of other people. Well, Jack Black, he acts, but he also has Tenacious D, which there's he's there are very few. You want to. Yes, for marketing and branding and all that other stuff, you want to focus. But if you're a creative person, chances are you're good at other things. And if you're not good at, marketing naturally, you can. Doesn't mean you shouldn't try. Doesn't mean you shouldn't learn that lingo. Doesn't mean you shouldn't learn, those aspects to at least try something new. And if you discover that, hey, and this will be the final thing I'll say too. If you're not good at it, fine. Work for trade. I did a house party for a woman who was a publicist who got me on WGN a couple times and everything else, and I did her Halloween house party every year for a couple years. And we're still good friends. She's doing other stuff now, so but if
you gotta meet people.
You gotta meet people. You gotta be creative though. You gotta figure. It's hey, I'll do this house party if you are my publicist for 3 months or whatever.
Yeah. Well, like you said, if you're creative, you're already you are a creative
you're
person.
you're
so, like,
used to problem solving. You're used
Yeah.
to overcoming
and
barriers.
If your problem's marketing, there's ways to, like you just mentioned, like, okay, can I do this thing for you? For
Sure.
for whatever, and you can maybe give me that later, and like
yeah,
things
exactly,
like that.
exactly. You can, record. The person who did my introduction, I'm gonna consult on his upcoming Halloween show. So
Okay.
that was an awesome trade as far as that goes.
And it's, it's
So like there's tons of that in the
in entertainment,
in entertainment and creative fields. Like, yeah, if you need, I mean, and again, I don't want to dismiss, like, I don't want to pull a Kim Kardashian and just be like, get up off your ass and work every day. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
That said, you can work. I've actually been forcing myself to, like, not work myself to death lately too. I've been giving myself permission to just, like, take a day off and relax. When I was sending press releases last week, I did all from my phone while I was laying on the couch watching horror movies. It was like, okay, all right, just, Google a couple emails and, find stuff. And again, like, there's almost always, if there's a will, there's a way, and again, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Again, in the amount of time I've been doing this, I lost my apartment. I've sent out press releases that I thought, oh my God, this is it. This is going to be the thing that people flock to. And my phone's going to be ringing off the hook. Nothing. Then I have this crazy off the top of my head idea that's just in passing. And that's the thing people are like, yes, let's do that.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta just keep trying. And that's the other thing too. Like, if something doesn't work right away, try again, or try it differently.
If you enjoy it too.
Yeah. Well, I did try to do, like, a Monday night show at my studio at first, because I was like, oh, Mondays, nothing's going on, no competition.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, people, I had one show where people showed up, and, like, okay, fine. So I tried again a few months later, and, like, that started to take off. And, So I think giving yourself permission that it's not this weird other thing that you don't need to associate it with a boring desk job. It is, like, that's the other ironic thing, and we've talked about this as being creatives. It's like we get out of it because we don't want the boring desk job, but now we have a boring desk job to do this. I mean, sitting down and working on my website and sending out my emails and contracts is a boring desk job, but I do it because I get to, do the gigs I want to. And, I've worked with, agents and everything too as well, but I still need to, line up my schedule and everything else. Like, the other thing too, I have a friend who has just one agent, and he said, like, oh, I like just looking at my phone and seeing where I'm going today and everything else. And part of me, and I've asked him once, I was like, so what happens if, like, your agent gets hit by a bus?
Yeah.
Like, your livelihood's gone.
Yeah.
Like, what are you gonna do? There's not gonna be, for me, I've got a lot of, the ticket sales, I've got private gigs, I'm not, and I've got virtual shows now. So if I can't do in person, I can do virtual. Like, and that's the other proof of creativity. Look at the last 2 years. How much great
problem solving,
how much great art. Like, that first week I was like, this stinks. Art's going to be great in 2 years. And it is. Like, look at right now. We've got, like, so many great albums. We got so many, there's almost like a renaissance of good, like, full albums being released, not singles. So there's, I think that's part of it. Art where, I think, again, artistic types are kind of trained that if you're good at being creative, you're not going to be good at, marketing
things,
and now that said too, I'm awful at doing my taxes, and I've, we gave it to our tax person, so there we go. That's fine. You know what? You can outsource, if you can let go of some stuff and not be a control freak, and knowing, like, okay, this is time to send this to the
It's an important skill to be able to do too, to be able to step back and be like, okay, let me trust these people. But when you mentioned before that most creative people can do multiple things, Lauren said Jared Leto ... Does he not do other creative? I know he has like a cult. I've heard. I mean, I don't know how real the cult is. But
I know 130 Seconds to Mars song, and
he does have music, right? People really doesn't he do music as well?
Yeah, wasn't he the lead singer of 30 Seconds to Mars?
Is he? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. People said it was really bad.
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not trying to shit on you, Jared Leto. Morbius was not for me, but
okay, we'll leave it at that.
Okay, wasn't for me. But
I didn't see it.
Didn't see it.
That was one where I was like, I'll wait for the reviews. And
I thought it would be one of those movies that was like people were really hard on it, and it was gonna be like so bad it's funny, like it's fun, and it's just like you don't even there's no like causality for why scenes happen. Like this scene happens, and then
I heard a lot of people comparing it to Blade 3.
Yeah, Blade 3 is more of a coherent story.
Yeah, it's all over the place, but it's here's the thing too. Like I don't mind. I had a bunch of people say, "Oh, just watch the first 2 Blade movies. Don't see the third one." Finally watched the third one a couple months ago. It's cheesy early 2000s fun. Like whatever. Yeah. Like it's what you think the first 2 Blade movies are going to be, and you're pleasantly surprised that they're not.
Yeah.
So when it is a step backwards, but like I was expecting like a dumpster fire, and I was like, nah. It was just if we're using the TV show analogy, it was just a very middle of the road episode of the TV show. Like
filler.
Yeah, it was not a great one to go out on, but I don't think it like was the dumpster fire I was told it was either.
Yeah,
so
it's not unwatchable.
Yeah,
it's not the worst thing. She clarifies, says he's not the best, but he does do multiple things.
Oh yeah, well, and I mean, again, like I really try not to. Everyone has different tastes. Everyone's working hard. I don't know of a single creative who's lazy either. Like whenever I see someone whenever people complain about like an actor, like, oh, they're just phoning it in. Well, they probably weren't. They're probably trying. That's probably the best they can do. Like, go easy. So
the thing that they love, I doubt. It's hard to like. Yeah. I don't know. It's even hard, like, if you're making a song, like, I don't know. You're not...
but bad movies, I was actually just talking about this recently. Bad horror has a lot in common with bad magic.
Okay.
And good horror has a lot in common with good magic. So, as far as I know, they're the, performance magic and horror movies are the only 2 art forms offhand that I can think of that are going for a very specific emotional reaction. I know people are already going, what about comedy? Like, yes.
Yeah.
I understand. You can, like, in a comedy movie or a comedy performance, you only have to laugh once for it to be a real success. You can kind of think everything's funny, but then you only really need to laugh out loud once for you to be like, okay, all right, that was fine. We've all been there. We've all watched that, straight to Netflix comedy where it's like, where we finally laugh and we go, okay, they got me. It's like, all right, all right, I laughed. All right. It's like, it's a bit of that. Where with horror, you're either scared or you're not. Yeah. Like, it's horseshoes and hand grenades. Like it can be atmospheric. You can care about the characters, not care about the characters. But if you don't feel nervous walking to your car after that film, it's for all intents and purposes failed. Same thing with magic. If you don't have that feeling of mystery of like, oh my God, is the world what I thought? Can this really happen? Did I stop thinking too soon? I heard one person say magic does to the mind what the roller coaster does to the body. If you don't have that, you can think the magician was funny, you can think the magician was interesting, but if you don't come away with that feeling of mystery,
if you're not like, how?
Yeah, then it's not a magic show. If you leave the horror film and you haven't experienced horror, it's failed. And I also will argue, I think that's why when it's bad, it's so bad because you have to swing for the fences. You can't punt the ball. You can in comedy. You can like punt it and maybe you'll luck out and get like that joke will go somewhere interesting later or something. You gotta swing for the fences when it comes to horror and magic or
bad
mystery.
Horror movies, you're just laughing at
it. And it's the same thing. Well, and there's also overlap with special effects. Tom Savini has often said he sees his special effects and makeup as magic tricks. There's the famous kill in the first Friday the 13th movie where the woman gets the axe in the face. And, people were saying, oh, my God, you see this axe go in a woman's face. And you don't. You see a heavy axe hit the light. You then see from behind the axe go into a head. And then you see the axe in her face from the front. And Tom Savini has talked about that specific kill, he's like, you can do it with a fake axe and a real head or a fake head and a real axe. And we decided to do both. So you hear the axe hit the light at the top, so you know that has weight. Then there's the shot from behind where the axe, thump, comes in to the dummy from behind. And then it cuts to the real head with the fake axe in it from the front. You never see the axe go into the face, but you put all three of those shots together in a split second, and your mind just fills in that gap. And what do people say about horror movies? Oh, it was so fake. They say the same thing about magic. Oh, it's so fake. So it either needs to look really real or hit that, specific emotional, resonance. Yeah. And if it doesn't, and it can for some people, and some people can watch the same one and go, oh, it didn't do it for me. The same movie or the same performance or the same, all that stuff. And so I think that's another thing it has in common as well. I've had people say, oh, the Babadook was so boring. And like, I couldn't sleep after that movie. Like,
I didn't. So that one scared. I watched that in high school.
Yeah. So it's also very subjective. Comedy is too, but I think comedy is a bit broader as well. Like you can very rarely, you might have a favorite comedian and everything else, or just not find someone funny, but like very rarely will the comedy be so niche that the person doesnn have a career.
Yeah. Where they're a famous comedian.
Yeah, exactly. Right? So, and again, when it comes to again that feeling of mystery or the unknown or horror, like there's always that. There's a bit of a fight for it too, because it's not a pleasant experience too. I think that's the other thing it has in common with
like almost roller coasters too in that sense.
Yeah.
And horror, where it's
there's
you're
also
putting yourself through.
There's also a reason why roller coasters are only 90 seconds. You know, like that's the other thing. It's like, well, that's the thing with like a magic show. If we're going to go back to the roller coaster analogy, if that's the case, well, you can't do an hour straight of that. You need some stuff that's like, mind blowing. You need some stuff, even if you're going to do all mind blowing material, you need to balance it with stories and talking to people. There needs to be breathing room in between that stuff. Yeah. You can't
digest what just happened, or else
you can't just dive into stuff. You gotta give it some room to breathe. And similar with horror, it's not, the more effective ones, there's breathing room in between stuff. And there's special effects extravaganzas. There's Dead Alive, where there's the lawnmower in the in the room of zombies. It's one of Peter Jackson's early movies.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think so.
Dead Alive, Meet the Feebles. Oh, you want to just have a deep dive. Watch Meet the Feebles and remind yourself that this is an Academy Award-winning director.
Feebles, okay.
It's dark, twisted, gross Muppets.
Okay.
It's prepare yourself.
Okay.
Prepare yourself for Meet the Feebles.
Yeah.
You're oh my God. But Dead Alive, it becomes a horror comedy and a gross out comedy, and that's fine. I think there's a time and a place for, just doing the most gross, ridiculous splatter, blood and guts, special effect as possible. I think that can be that like a roller coaster, or a comedy can be fun and can be, achieve all that. But yeah, you need to again, it's all, and again, this isn't a perfect analogy, but it's just kind of helped me in my creative process.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's subjective.
Yeah.
On the kind of the same wave. For what's Joe Diamond? Who's a maybe a magician that Joe Diamond's been watching currently, or someone that you are like thinking is doing really great stuff in the space?
Like within,
maybe you've seen them, or
within magic.
Yeah,
or,
magic,
okay.
mentalism, whatever.
Yeah. Well, again, I just saw Dan Sperry, and Dan, we've known each other since we were teenagers.
Okay.
I was 16 when I met Dan. We were like the young guns on like a charity show in St. Charles, and he and instantly right then I was like, oh, this guy's, like, it was one of those things where it was like, oh, he's great. I need to work harder. We're so different stylistically and on stage. He's very much he'll do something really gross and then he'll just be like, magic show, and like, that is not me. Like, I want to I've done gross stuff. I've done human blockhead and hammered a nail in my nose and stuff, but like, I can get away with that because hopefully because I just look like a normal guy. So there's that balance. He comes out with, the makeup and the goth hair and, the boots, and, you expect like, oh my God, like, yeah, let's see this guy,
That's
put
cool, though.
put thread in his mouth and then pull it out his eye. Like, let's watch it. Oh, it's so gross. It's awesome. So he was great to watch live. I love, and again, this is, I will talk about people I'm not working with in a moment, but Tristan Christ's show, him and his partner Shannon, like, that show is so tight.
That's what I was going to say.
So,
Yeah,
well, and I'm not giving too much away when I say this. It's just them. They don't have any backstage crew.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Tristan, he's using a heel switch on his shoes to change the music. Shannon's setting up all the illusions backstage.
Wow.
And like, it's them. Which is
me.
more amazing than if you really, because people are like, when you realize it's just the two of them and a helicopter appears, it's like, well, crap.
Yeah.
My theory was that 10 people built it really quick. Well, that's a theory out the window. It's amazing. So watching them, and also the variety of material they have, and music and lighting and staging, and moments where, he's very funny and charming, but then there's moments where Shannon's really powerful, and there's moments where they're working together as a team. There's just really, really great moments in that show. And they blew me away. They're doing this new piece in the show. I don't even want to talk about what it is. It's second to last. It's right before the big finale where they make the helicopter appear. And when I saw it, it blew me away. I had two theories. One I was close with and one I was straight up wrong on. And when they told me what it actually was, I was ashamed that I hadn't thought of it, but I was also proud of them for having thought of it. So it was, and again, I don't even want to get into it. So it's great. So that was like that. And again, when you're in this industry, having moments where it's like,
you're blown away is kind of,
or surprised too, like when you have that, and yes, after the show I was like, okay, there's 3 ways I would do this. What do I think they would do? Because again, I'm used to being a problem solver, but like being in the moment and like having that was phenomenal. So that as well. I've been going old school lately. There was, I think I name dropped this person earlier, probably way before your time, but there was a guy named the Amazing Kreskin who was on The Tonight Show over 100 times. He did all the talk show circuits.
Okay.
He's a big nerd. He's like got thick glasses, wearing loud 1970s jacket. He performed in the 70s and stuff. Like, no way could this guy be, a psychic celebrity in the 2000s now. He's still alive. He's still working. He's older. He's still doing gigs. But like, he's just such an everyman who's just as excited when these amazing things happen, when he's reading people's minds in the audience or bringing people up for other tests and everything. And I've been on a kick of reading about old school mentalists who have played these bigger spaces, you know, in the past. So because I've been doing this, I read the biography of a gentleman by the name of David Hoy, who was a well-known psychic in like the 50s and 60s. Oh, okay. He had like records out where he taught people how to use their ESP and all that stuff. Yeah. And he so reading about like that kind of stuff. And that's the other thing too, like there's a ton of like, and then there was Joseph Dunninger he was famous for doing mind reading on the radio. His voice was the second most recognized voice on radio after the president in the 30s and 40s. Damn. So that's how famous he was.
Yeah, radio star.
Yeah, exactly. The third most famous voice was a ventriloquist. A ventriloquist would do his voice and the dummy's voice in studio live on the air. But it's like, you can't, it's radio. It doesn't matter if we can see your lips move or not, but he would still do it.
People were really buying that too.
Oh yeah, exactly. So it's kind of funny when you think about that. So I've really been looking at like the past lately to really draw inspiration from, to see, rather than trying to, because a lot of guys, there's someone I have the utmost respect for, Darren Brown in the UK. He just did a run on Broadway. He's got shows on Netflix. And a lot of mentalists, consciously or not, have definitely ripped off not just tricks, but like persona and like, you know, jokes and lines. And some of that stuff like seeps into the consciousness of like, there's stock jokes, there's things that just you have to say as a performer in this situation, because it's gonna,
there's only a certain amount of ways you could react to
there's only a certain there's only a certain amount of ways you can react to it, and there's only a certain amount of like the cheesiest joke in my show that's close to this kind of stuff is someone very early on, your first name is Darren. That's correct. Yeah, exactly. And like, that's more, as much of a common stock line as that can be. I take that as a moment to show that I'm not being serious. I'm taking what I'm doing seriously, but not myself seriously. And doing stuff like that helps me getting, I don't get challenged as much when I do that stuff. And also, if the joke is going to get made, if I don't do it and the audience is going to do it, I might as well do it in some of those situations. I do try not to fall into that too much, because I want to you can use a stock line to prevent you from connecting with the audience. So I try, if I'm going to do it, I say, okay, will this connect me with the audience? Just as much, and can I write something better? And sometimes I can, and sometimes I'm not a genius, and okay, fine, go with what's worked a million times before.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But there's some people, I've seen people do exact line for line things that Darren Brown has done. And I'm sure if you watch Darren Brown, you would see some similarities in what I do, but hopefully you would realize he's a very different personality and very different, vibe to his shows. And also his big influence was a gentleman by the name of Eugene Berger, who I did have the chance to study with while he was alive as well. Wow. So we have similar mentors. We're the exact same mentor in that case. So that kind of makes sense in that regard too. But I often,
influence is fine, I think.
Yeah, influence is fine,
but not
and I think
completely.
Yeah, I think what's the line? If you copy from one source, it's plagiarism. If you copy from multiple sources, it's research. Yeah. So I think I think it's fine if I use a line. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If I use a line from Kreskin and then a line from Darren or an idea or something, like, as long as I'm doing both, I think, and putting it through your own
filter,
Joe Diamond filter, I think that's fine. But also, like in mentalism, there's only 4 things. There's telepathy, clairvoyance, precognition, and psychokinesis. Reading someone's mind, knowing something that's unknown, predicting the future, and moving an object with your mind. That's it. Yeah. That's it. That's all. That's all.
Everything fits under those 4 umbrellas.
Yep. Which is why I like doing things like, like the memory test, because it's so different from everything else we've been doing in the show. And also I like ending with something that is very explicitly real and not, I like mystery for sure, but like there is just something about a demonstration of skill.
Yeah.
That.
I mean, to me, that would have people walking away like even maybe people that are more skeptical. There's always the guy in the group that's like, I don't believe it the whole time, and then at the end you're like, there's no way he could have.
Yeah, well, there's that, but also there's an interesting phenomena that happens when you go to like a magic convention and you see the big gala show in the evening where it's all the top names in the business, people who have invented stuff, people who've written books, people who've been on TV. And the person who steals the show is the juggler. Ask any magician. The juggler steals the show at the magic convention. That's what's going to happen. Well, I think part of it is because magicians are used to hiding their skills, so someone who can demonstrate it, there's that aspect, but also like there's theatrical build when you're demonstrating skill. When you juggle 3, you instinctually know 4 and 5 is harder than 3.
Yeah.
You instinctually know chainsaws are harder than clubs, even if they're, if it's, more impressive or whatever. You don't have to explain why something is more difficult. And I hope in my show, like there is a progression. I start off with getting, people think of cards, and then I'm sensing, I've one person write down a living name and 3 people write down dead names. They're mixed up in envelopes, and I try and sense which one is which. And then from there I go into actual, getting information from people in the audience in real time.
Yeah.
And hopefully that is a build, even though it's all I'm trying to guess what this person's thinking. We're starting with a card, and then, celebrities, and then personal information, and now we're getting into like full-on memories. Like getting someone's pin code is objectively, that's a 1 in 10,000 is more than 1 in 52. You know that without having to explain it. So when I get into, and again, when at the end, and that's one of the reasons why I've structured the show to involve more and more people, because as it goes on, also you have less and less the explanation that I've done research on everyone, because I can't, everyone's, the cards are being mixed in the, in the moment, or people are being chosen at random in the moment. But also like that kind of goes away on its own without me having to constantly, prove that, this person isn't in on it and everything else, which again, in a 13-person show is much easier to convey than it is on a bigger show, on a bigger stage. So that's got to be by design. So I like having something that is, because again, just for example, with Tristan's show, they do a lot of, to have variety in the show, because it's all impossible theoretically. Making a bunch of bottles appear should be, it's just as difficult as making a motorcycle disappear. They're both impossible. There's not something that's more impossible than the other. It's horseshoes or hand grenades. It's either impossible or it isn't. But when you change the scale or the vibe, like Tristan will do like a comedy bit with an audience member, and then they'll do a piece of magic silent to music that's a bit bigger. Then he'll do something solo, and then something together with Shannon. So you can have light and shade and contrast as it goes on. Yeah. And again, even in the Mind Ring show, I'm shutting up and bending spoons at one point. So there is a bit of a change in the pace and structure, but it is a challenge to not make it seem like the same thing.
Yeah, pacing is probably a big part of it, and it's just building tension and releasing that tension and finding the flow of that. I think that's a credit to both yourself, Tristan, guys that can do that and do shows as well as you guys do, because I've seen Tristan's show, I've seen your show a couple of times. It's fantastic. Both you guys, for real.
Thank you.
And there's a lot of professionalism. I can tell a lot of thoughts going into that. Now you've got You got some stuff here, Joe.
Yeah. So here.
What's going
well,
on with
okay.
that?
So here's the big thing that I'm kind of admitting to lately.
Okay, because
So-
I didn't know you were bringing this for the record.
Yeah.
I
No.
was
You
trying to
have
get
no
another-
idea. Yeah. Again, you have no idea what we're about to do because, I've got a deck of cards for the audio listeners, and I'll shuffle it for right now, and we'll properly narrate for audio listeners. But I've kind of hedged my bets more and been very elusive with parts of my show that are real, parts that aren't, and I'm more explicitly admitting or owning the title psychic because I think yes, magician, what I do is in the magical arts, but also when you think of a magician, you think of Tristan's show. You don't think of a guy sitting at a Ouija board reading someone's mind, So there's that, but also I don't have any problem anymore. Initially starting out, like I didn't want people to be like, oh, well, he's psychic, we're Christian, we can't hire a psychic, all that kind of stuff. And I think people are a little bit more, for lack of a better term, liberal now. I mean, we've got Harry Potter and things like, the amount of people who have, crystals and tarot and runes on Instagram now. It's like it comes with your kit now when you graduate college. It's like, okay, you got your crystal collection, and so I think the metaphysical
tapestry.
The tapestry, all this stuff. So I think it's become a little bit more mainstream culturally and everything else as well. And also, finally, I do believe that we all are psychic to a large extent. I do believe that we all have intuitive hunches. We all have moments where it's like, oh my God, what just happened there? I equate it to we all have the same muscles as Dwayne Johnson, but we don't all work them out the same way, so we don't all end up looking like The Rock. Yeah. So I think
there's some things that he might have taken along the way.
Sure. And there's definitely things that can help, psychically. There's tools like we've used, like pendulums, and there's tools like tarot cards and such. So I've just got a standard regulation poker deck here.
Okay.
But in fact, I'm gonna hand them over to you. Why don't you shuffle them up as well, Darren?
Man, I'm such a. I don't.
That's
even,
okay. That's okay. But
I'm just gonna cut them
prove
a bunch of
that's
times.
fine. To prove my point, you can span them out for the
check
or the other way too.
Oh,
the
other
backs are all the same, and
Gotcha.
the fronts are all different. They're not all the ace of
They're not all
spades
the
or
same.
anything.
I'm so bad
That's
with
okay.
cards. You
Mix
look
them
so
up.
smooth with it.
That's
You're
okay.
right.
That's okay. But to prove this point, in a moment we're gonna do a test of mind reading.
Okay.
I'm going to read your mind, but
think
you are also going to read my mind.
so?
And I'm going to walk you through this. I'm actually going to help you along with the process. All right.
I'm
now,
not the Joe. I'm not the brightest.
Oh no,
I
it's
just wanna-
it's okay, because here's the other thing too. Mind reading works both ways.
Okay.
So I'm experienced at receiving thoughts. So
Okay.
therefore, I will be better than the average person at sending them as well. So my mind will actually be easier to read than if you just did this with someone off the street.
Okay.
So first things first, you're gonna think of a card. I'm gonna look away. I'm just gonna go through the cards like this one at a time. Say stop when you see a card you want to think of. And I will just keep talking.
I should keep talking
so that there's
too,
not
no dead air.
not dead air for the
card
audio. Oh,
okay, let's go.
Do you need me to go back or
No, keep going.
keep going?
No,
okay, I'll keep going until
right there. Let's go.
So you want to go with this one here?
Yep.
Okay. Remember the value in the suit, specifically in the corner. The value in the suit, the index of the card. Remember that. That'll be important later. Okay. You got it?
Yes.
Okay. Take the deck and mix them up. And my head was turned away while we did all that too.
Could they see the card?
Okay, perfect.
Cool.
Okay,
Cool,
so
cool,
there's a video record of it. And when you're done, spread the cards out in front of me.
Oh man. All of them? You just want to see?
Yeah, I want to see them. Yeah. So.
Okay.
And don't forget your card either.
I got it.
Okay?
I got it.
Got it. Okay.
Locked in.
Yeah. Turn it around and just spread the cards out. Keep moving them around. I'm gonna look for one as well that I want.
Oh Jesus.
That's okay.
I'm so bad.
That's okay. No, you were Jesus last time.
I was
so,
Jesus last time. Here, let me,
you know what?
grab this
I
back.
think do it once more. I think.
Yeah. I put some of them perpendicular.
You know what? I got one. Close it up. Okay. All right. And you can shuffle the cards up as well.
I don't gamble, guys.
That's okay.
Let me shuffle this one more time.
So you've got a card in mind, and I've got a card in mind.
Yes.
Right? All right. I'm going to do this with you first, and then you'll be able to do the same thing back. So I want you. So remember, I told you to focus on the value and the suit, the index.
Yeah.
Okay? I want you to imagine you're going into a movie theater. It's before Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness.
I'm so pumped.
And instead of all the crappy ads they've got up there now before the cool trailers, it's like, no, I don't need a car insurance ad in the theater.
Yeah.
But imagine it's just a blank screen. You sit down, you get settled, and then suddenly that card appears on the screen. The value and the suit appears on that screen. Okay. Could you just say the 4 suits for me? Clubs, diamonds, spades, hearts.
Clubs, diamonds, spades, hearts.
Okay, I think I'll be right on the value, but I might be off on the suit. I'll try to go for at least the value and the color for this. Okay, so I've got this one. I'm gonna put it down right here. Okay. I'm gonna slide the deck over to you now. Now don't look at the cards just yet, but look at me.
Okay.
We're gonna do the same thing. You just projected a card onto that screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm now going to do that. So imagine your card fades away.
Okay.
All right. And I'm going to project my card onto that screen. The value and the suit. I will even say clubs, diamonds, spades, hearts. And when you get a card, and just allow a card to come into your mind, a value and a suit. Don't say it. Just let me know when you get a card in your mind.
I got one.
You got one? Okay.
I do. I'm pretty nervous, though.
Don't be nervous. Here's the thing. You got nothing to worry about.
Okay.
If you get this right, you're going to be a freaking hero. If you get it wrong, everyone's going to blame me. So you got nothing to lose. You've got nothing to lose. And I'm hoping for close, too, for each of us for this. Okay. Do you want to change the color, the suit, or the value?
Of the one I picked in my head? Or
of the one you think I have? Or does that feel right?
It was the only one that came to me, so I'm going to go with that, I guess.
I think you did pretty well. Okay, same thing. Go through. Don't take out your card, because hopefully if I did this right, that'll be this one. Okay. Go through the deck and take out the card you think I have in mind. Okay. I won't look. Just place it right here on the table. Just place it right here. I won't look. Okay. Place it next to the one I took out for you. And yeah, so keep it face down. Don't show the camera. I'll look away until we're ready.
Okay.
All right.
It's right
so
next to.
It's right next to. Okay. Here, take the card box.
Got that.
And put the rest of the deck in the box, so that way all the other cards are out of the way.
I'm scared.
Don't be scared. It's okay. All right. So let me know when they're in the box. I'm gonna keep my head turned away.
Okay.
Got it?
They're
okay.
in the box.
So the 2 cards are in front of us, yes?
Yes.
This one's the one you think I have.
Yeah.
This is the one I think you have. Cover up the card like this with your hands, and when you say you're done, I'll open my eyes and turn towards you.
I've got it.
Hopefully I haven't been off mic too bad. Okay, so you've got a card under your hands. I've got a card under my hands. If we've done this correctly, I should be holding the card you're thinking of, that you thought of at the very beginning of this, and you should be holding the card I thought of.
Okay.
Keep your card covered on the table. Keep it covered on the table.
Keep it covered.
I'm going to hold up this one so the camera can see it. I can't change my mind. You can tell us now, what card did you think of at the beginning?
I had the 7 of clubs.
And the card I have is 7 of clubs. Now let's see how you did, Darren.
Okay.
I thought of the 3 of hearts. How'd you do? You got it? Yes! Woo!
What is going
Darren
on,
got
bro?
my 3 of hearts.
What is
He's
going
got
on,
it.
dude? Holy shit, man. That's fun. Yeah, wow. That is incredible. You how, dude? It was right away. It was like I had like nothing, and then it was like,
and then it just came to you, right?
Yeah, and then when you said,
yeah, explain how that is.
So
like,
I literally felt because I'm picturing the screen and I pictured my card still.
Yep.
And I was trying to make sure I didn't forget my card after you said, okay, you're gonna forget that one.
Yeah.
So I'm still thinking of mine for a second, and then I had nothing, and then I got 3 hearts, and I don't know why that came to me.
It just came to you. Like as I was talking to you, was it when I was doing the suits? Out of curiosity.
Well, no, that that's when I made the decision, actually. Yeah.
It was during the suits. Interesting.
Because I really didn't like have anything until then. And then the thing was, I was like, man, I just guessed. I don't have any fucking
No,
clue.
that's the way to do it. That's the way to go.
But but when you said, do you want to change it? That's when I was like, no, it's the only one I got, so it has to be it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's just insane.
There you go.
That is
well, and that's a
crazy.
big part of this as well. So many times, one of the biggest secrets with mind reading is to not filter. So much of it is people saying like, "Oh, I should have gone with my first gut," or "I should have gone with my first choice."
Yeah.
How many times have you heard people say that?
It's your intuition.
Yeah. So a big part of it is to just, not change your mind, not go with it. Sometimes you feel unsure.
Start getting pulled in a different
like you're pulled in different directions. But more often than not, when it's like, oh, I should have gone with that first instinct.
God,
so there you go. Yeah,
that was phenomenal.
And that's why I think cards are a great. They're kind of a language in and of themselves, which are great for mind reading. Because if we were both spot on. But if like I got 7 of spades or you got 3 of diamonds, we'd both consider that a hit. Pretty close. Or 8 of clubs, off by 1 value or something. There's degrees to which you can be close or not. So
yeah.
So
that was crazy. Thank you for that.
Yeah, awesome. No problem.
That was insane.
So what's it feel like being able to read the mind of a mind reader?
I feel like I'm gonna have to open up for you now. Man.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
That's craziness, man.
You can only read my mind right now, but it'll just be us standing on stage staring at each other.
Yeah,
nothing.
That could sell. We could sell that. Package it right.
So you've heard about the joke where 2 mind readers run into each other on the street, right?
I haven't.
2 psychics run into each other, and one says, "Hey, you're fine. How am I?"
Oh shit!
There you go.
I like it. That's funny.
There you go.
Now we are. I think. What are we at for time? About an hour 30, hour 40. Okay, yeah. Joe. You got any other questions for me? Anything else you want to get to before we end for tonight?
We can do one more if you want. We can do that again. If you're listening to this vastly in the future and April 29th and May 6th, 2022 has passed. At Joe Diamond Live on Instagram, JoeDiamondLive.com, at Joe Diamond Live on all social media platforms. I'm going to be doing more on the YouTube channel, The Modern Rogue, coming up. I'm flying back to Texas to film more with them in the coming weeks. We've done some really fun stuff in the past. Talks about the Ouija board and everything.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you a little bit about some of the stuff I've got planned for that. One video where I taught how to do a card trick, just a straight up conjuring card trick, just passed 120,000 views.
Crazy.
And it's funny too because like so many, it's one of their longer videos, and normally with YouTube it's like keep it short, keep it punchy. But because the effect was so clean and the method is, I have no problem with people knowing the method on that one because it's insane. The person who came up with it was a genius. And it just shows the level of work you go into with some of this stuff as well. So I have no problem with someone seeing that. You can see it all at if you go to JoeDiamondLive.com, click on the Modern Rogue tab, or just type in Joe Diamond into YouTube. You'll find those videos before my own YouTube channel as well. And then again, if anyone is in the Midwest and wants to make the trek to Lake Geneva, April 29th or May 6th, the Tristan Chris Magic Theater, go to americasgreatestmindreader.com or JoeDiamondLive.com, whichever. Literally right on the homepage, it says click here to see Joe Diamond Live. There's a banner at the top of every homepage that takes you right to both dates for tickets. And before you check out, type in JD15, JD15 to get $15 off each ticket. So if you want to bring a group of 6, it'll be $15 off every single person's ticket, not just one of them.
Crazy.
So it's gonna be it's gonna be a blast.
Yeah.
And hopefully there'll be more, and people in the future will be able to that info will still be good. Again, all my schedule is always at the website and on my mailing list too. So if people want to check that out, feel free.
Yeah, super cool. I'm excited to go. I hope we can pull in some other people to come with you as well. That'll be super fun. And you've got a lock that I'm very
so it's just a bike lock. Do you wear you don't wear a ring, do you?
I do sometimes. I didn't today.
Okay. Is there a ring or something?
You got a ring on, by the way?
It's okay if not.
I feel like there should be one.
Do you have your keys?
I do. Some in the other room. You want to grab them quick?
Yeah, go grab them real quick. All right.
They should be on the desk.
All right, I've covered up the combination. I've opened the lock.
Okay.
Because last time I was here, I guessed your PIN code
that you did,
for your phone. 4-digit code, 1 in 10,000. I even did for some of your friends afterwards. I think that went up on your Patreon.
That's on Patreon.
As well. Sweet.
Yeah.
So you got the.
Just got my keys.
Yeah, you got the keys. Perfect. All right.
Here we go.
We won't show them too much on camera so people can copy them, but this will be perfect.
They wouldn't want those. They're not getting anywhere good.
We're gonna lock my lock onto your keys and spin the code. The reason we're doing this with my old bike lock is because if you were to guess my PIN code on my phone, you might think, oh, that's probably an electronic app that like opens on the third time or the fourth time. To guess a 4-digit PIN code or lock code on a old lock like this, or more low-tech lock like this, yeah, that's one thing. So we're going to do exactly what we did with the card. You're going to read my mind, and you're going to guess my bike lock code. Oh, no. Now, a couple things. First off, this is a lot more complicated than 1 in 52. There are 10,000 different combinations, okay? The first thing I'll tell you, it's not anything like 000 or it's not 9999. Okay, it is a genuine 4-digit code. Think of an old PIN code, okay, where it's 4 random digits. An old PIN code that doesn't open your phone anymore. Okay. Got it?
Yeah, I'm trying not to pick. I feel like.
You don't have to say it. Okay. Just set that lock to
that
that old PIN code right now.
Okay.
And once it's there, just try to pull the lock open. Okay. Has a little bit of give, but it'll hold it up. Yeah, hold it up. So is it opening? No, it's not. Okay, the odds of that is very unlikely. McKenna, give us like an old 4-digit address or something. It can be a PIN code or whatever. 7983. 7983. Is that the Dewey Decimal for something?
That was Darren's number.
It's not even my old number.
Oh, it's part of an old phone number.
Another?
Let's call them. Let's find out.
Let's call
okay.
I can't turn
this. Is it lined up?
Oh, there we go. Yeah, no, I couldn't get the top.
That's okay. That's okay.
Tight, so
that's okay.
What am I looking to do?
7983.
7983, and pull on the lock.
7988 and 3. Okay. Yeah.
And when you pull on it, it does nothing. No, we could do this 9,998 more times.
That would be one way to figure it out.
But we don't have to. So, I'm going to like I said. This has just been guessing. Now, earlier with the card, you didn't guess. We went through a process, and through that process, it came to you, just like a creative process and everything else. Mm-hmm. That's what we're going to do for this, all right?
Okay.
So first things first, I'm going to give you, again, this is 1 in 10,000. Yeah. So it's not 1 in 52, so there's no problems for me to give you one tiny hint, okay? The significance of the number. I'm going to tell you the significance of the number. Okay. It's a date. All right. Okay. Not a year, but a month and a day. All right. Okay. So here's what I want you to do. Get a couple different dates in your mind. Just get a couple different dates. It can be birth dates, anniversaries, or just random dates. That's actually more preferred. Okay.
Okay.
And after you keep changing your mind, look at me while you keep changing your mind. Eventually, you're going to realize you've changed your mind back to a previous date that you had in mind, and you'll start to settle in. Okay. And when you've settled in on a date, let me know.
Okay.
And yeah, just keep going. Take your time with this too.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to. Okay. I was really only getting like 2 or 3.
That's okay. That's okay.
Between them.
All right. So I'll tell you. So do you have just one in mind right now?
Yes.
Okay. Just think of that date, because the odds of you getting it now would be astronomical. I don't know if you're spot on yet. Okay, did you think of a date in the autumn, like in October, November, December?
One of them, not the one I was just thinking of, but one of them was, yeah.
One of them was, but you, okay, but you went for the one that wasn't.
I went for the one that wasn't.
Okay, good. Okay, so I think you've got the month right. I think the day, you're a little off. I think you might be a day or two off in either direction. So go 1 or 2 days forward in time or 1 or 2 days backwards in time. Okay. Don't tell me what the date is just yet. I think you've got it. I think the 4 digits you have in mind right now are the 4 digits that open up that padlock in your hand. Now, before you try that, you've got that 4-digit code in mind now,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Put in a completely different 4-digit code. In fact, what was one of the dates? You said you had a date in October, November, December. What was that date?
It was November 3rd.
It was November 3rd. Okay, so try 1103. So try what the previous code you had, and will that once that's in there, yeah, and hold it up so the
Okay,
camera
yeah,
can
yeah.
see.
Yeah, well.
And you can see 1103. It
Does not.
does not open. Right now, here's the game. Now you've got a code in mind that I think is the one. I think you've got it. Do you want to try the correct code now, or do you want to test another code? Because I don't want you to think this opens on like the 3rd try or 4th try or 5th try. I
Okay.
want you to know this is a real bike code,
Okay.
or bike lock. It is, but
Mhm.
just so you know, I'm giving you the option. Do you want to try the code you actually have in mind, or do you want to try
Let's
one?
try
other?
another one.
Let's try another one. Okay. Put in a completely random 4 digits then. Completely different. Don't make a single digit same
Okay.
as the code you have in mind. Make them all different. And show us the completely random code where none of the digits are the same. that
Okay,
you've
we've
got.
got 3495.
3495. Okay. Do you want to try another code and have it not open, or do you want to try the code you built up in your mind and open it up?
I think I'm ready to try the code.
You want to try the code you have in mind?
Yeah.
Okay. Put it in, but don't pull it yet. Okay. But tell us the number as you're putting it in.
As I'm putting it in. So
Yeah.
I've got a 0.
Mhm.
I've got a 1. I've got a... oh, where is it? I've got a 2. And a 5.
A 5. Moment
Yeah.
of truth. Pull it.
Oh.
Swing it
Oh,
around. You'll see it does open.
What?
That is the code 1 or 0125.
Yeah.
January 25th is the day I lost my virginity.
Wow.
So, and you can see, look, I'll just put it in, and I'll change it to, I'll just change one number. You will see just right at that
And
point.
and
You can
it's-
try it. It won't open.
Nope.
Yep. And in fact, try it. What was one of the other dates you had in mind? Like December something.
12:30.
12:30. Okay, try 12:30.
go
You'll see
1, 2.
12:30 genuinely doesn't open it up.
30. Okay.
Yeah,
Nope.
that's not it. If you put back in 0125, you will see that is the only code that genuinely opens
Wow.
that lock.
It's
You got-
insane, dude. That's fucking crazy.
I can't use this bike lock for anything
Yeah,
anymore.
no, I've got to figure it out.
It's on the internet forever and
crazy.
ever.
Jesus. It's funny because originally, like when you said, I was again, it was another
Mhm.
thing where I was like, oh, 123 was like the first one I thought of, and then I was
Mhm.
jumping to these other ones, and then you said you're going to come back to whatever one. So I went back to 123, and then you were like,
Mhm.
oh, you're a couple off, and it just,
There you go.
that's so
Got it.
bizarre, dude. It's a weird feeling, man.
Isn't it weird?
Jesus,
It feels
yeah.
good to read minds and
Yeah,
unlocks.
yeah.
So you know that feeling of, like I talked about this last time, of typing in the phone code and either that phone opens or it doesn't, and you got that feeling of
Yeah.
yes, it opened.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
I'm glad you could experience that.
thank you for that.
Thank
man. That was
you.
fantastic.
Thank you.
And thank you for
Appreciate it.
and thank you for being here, Joe.
Of course.
As always, it's phenomenal.
Thanks for having me. Always appreciate
It's
it.
great to get to talk to you. And you know, everything that you're doing is phenomenal. And I hope
Thank you.
people come see the show.
Yes.
It's here at home. It's in Lake Geneva, not far from where we're doing all this stuff. And guys, you really got to go check it out. He's got some phenomenal stuff, and we have like just scratched the tip of the iceberg.
Well, and
here.
that's the final thing too I'll say is, if people do think we set that up, which we absolutely did not,
Yeah.
but if someone does think it, come to a show. You'll see it's not set up.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to make a living being able to only do things with set up people.
Yeah.
It's completely random. It's different every time. No actors, no it's what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
So-
and it's an awesome thing, an awesome experience. So thank you, Joe. I want to say thank you to everybody who tuned in live tonight. Also thank you to those listening or viewing over on Spotify days after. I also want to give a quick shout out to our patrons. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. If you guys are interested in getting access to behind the scenes content, to music videos, how we make other videos, bonus content on some of the vlogs, we post extra of the wrestling stuff, the hooping stuff, all that stuff over there, as well as a series where I break down how I make and record every single one of my songs. You can go over to patreon.com/Darren Rita, and you can help support the channel for as little as $1. So check that out. Thank you to those guys for supporting us over there. Also, one last shout out to Kenosha Auto Insurance for sponsoring this episode. Thank you to them. And this has been the 146th episode of the dtalks podcast. We'll see you guys.